To get started creating your first project in After Effects, you will need to build your graphic in a composition. A composition is a container where you can layer multiple files together. To create a file known as a composite, layers can be created from many different kinds of files. To show you what I mean, let's get started building your first composition. There are two primary ways you can create compositions in After Effects. The first way is to go to the composition menu in the menu bar, to choose New Composition. In here, you want to make sure you are in the basic settings. At the top, you can name the composition under the composition name. I will leave mine as composition comp 1. Then you want to go ahead and click on the preset pull down. And in here, you can choose whatever resolution and frame rate you would like to choose. Go ahead to choose the preset or just click out of the menu. You also can set your frame rate, how many frames are going to play back at every second. And you can set the duration of the project. I have several numbers here and they work from left to right. I have 0 hour, 00 minute, and 10 seconds and 00 frames. Based on a 30 frames per second frame rate. You can also set the background color. In the bottom of your composition settings, I'm going to click to cancel because I don't want to use any of these settings. To create a new composition, I want to create a composition that will match my video footage exactly. So if you click once on the video footage in the project panel, notice you can see it's already 1920 by 1080. 00102997 frame per second. To create the composition from this footage, I will just click on the footage and drag it down to the composition button. And then let go. Notice now the composition has been created. And the video file has been added into the timeline. Let's add our logo into the timeline as well. Come back up to the project panel, click on the APEEK logo AI file and drag it down to the timeline. Notice as we get over the Summer Forest MP4 layer, if I go over top or below, I get a blue highlight showing me exactly where I'm going to place this element. Let's place it above layer 1 in the timeline. With the logo in the timeline, let's change where the logo appears over time. Make sure layer 1 is selected and then go to the right side of the timeline. The thing you want to pay attention is when you move layers around in time. In the location of the current time indicator, which is the blue line here on the left side. And if you come to the top of the blue line, you can click and drag and will allow you to reposition the current time indicator. So right now, as I am dragging, I'm going through a process called scrubbing. So move your current time indicator down to 2 seconds in the timeline. And you know it's 2 seconds because the upper left corner of the timeline, it says 000200. Now, to slide this layer in the timeline, you can click anywhere in this purple area and just click and drag. Notice you get a little grippy line underneath. As I reposition this layer, look into this panel. In the upper right corner of the interface, notice the duration doesn't change, only the in and out point of the layer. Go ahead and let go of the mouse and press Ctrl Z on the Windows or Command Z on the Mac to undo the latest slide. Instead of sliding the layer, I want to trim the layers in point. So let's hover over the in point, which is the left side of the layer, until the mouse turns into the double arrow icon. Then click and drag, and as you are dragging, if you hold down the shift after you start to drag, the point will snap into the current time indicator. So go ahead to do that and make sure the layers in point has gone to 002 seconds. Now, if we look at the info panel in the upper right corner, notice the duration is 8 seconds. And in the point is now moved to 2 seconds. Once again, the function is calling trimming. Now, sometimes when you are working on compositions, you have to go back and change the composition settings. Let's make our composition 5 seconds long. By selecting the composition in the project panel, click on it once, and then we'll go to the composition menu and go to the composition settings. With the composition settings open, let's go to the duration area. Highlight all the numbers and change it, say 500. Now you notice on the right side here, it says 5 seconds long. When you click OK, notice the timeline is much shorter now. It's only 5 seconds long. Now, as I'm looking at this logo, it's kind of hard to read on the background. So I would like to add a color wash over that video layer. To do that, I will create a layer solid. Let's go up to the menu bar, click on layers, and notice I can't choose new anything. Because I have the wrong panel active. See how the project panel is active? Let's click once on the timeline to make the timeline active. Then we go up under the layer menu, choose new, solid. When you go to your solid setting, make sure to choose make comp size. And then click on the eyedropper to sample a color from the composition. I will sample this green. And then go up and name the layer solid green. Click OK when you're done. Let's reposition this vertically in the timeline by clicking on the layer and then drag it between our logo and the background layer. Now, instead of this being 100% opaque, I want to bring the opacity down a little bit. So with the layer 2 selected, I will open up the layer options by clicking on the triangle, and then I can open up the transform options. At the bottom here, I have options here for opacity. Let's change that setting from 100% to 80% and then press enter on your keyboard. If we collapse layer 2, I want you to know compositions support many different kinds of layers. In this composition, we have a video layer on the bottom, which was imported into the project. A green layer solid, which we were generating from within After Effects. And an Illustrator file, which we imported into our project.